Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. Please take your seat.
Our theme for today's Leadership Summit is success and sustainability in the current scenario.
मंजिल मिले मिले ना मिले इसका गम नहीं, मंजिल के जुस्तजू में मेरा कारवां तो है. That being a service organization, being a community organization, it become always been a need and necessity that we work the best for our people.
For any business to have success, we first need to have an intention. Don't just keep your dreams local. Make them global. Remember this mantra, let's innovate for India and innovate from India.
No matter what kind of product or service you sell, digital is very important. In today's age, when you actually do something wrong or make a mistake, that makes headlines faster than the good things you do. So I'd like to also encourage you all to have a longer term plan. Have a 5-year plan. Really put down there in your plan what you expect, where you want to be, what kind of people you want to surround yourself, with, and what kind of products and services your business should be.
You need to have that desire, you need to have that courage, and you need to have that can-do attitude to begin with. So accept challenges, be adaptable, do accept the challenges which others are not willing to take it. So whatever you do, make sure that this is within your core competency, and at the same time, if you are taking a risk, know the subject very well.
Sustainability depends on the positioning of your business. Consistency in growth and profitability. How can you achieve that? In order to maintain the sustainability and achieve that one, you need leadership with a vision. You need strategic initiatives, and you need innovation and resilience. These are all the critical factors. Besides the will, you need to have the resources to sustain. Mostly the external factors become a big challenge for businesses to sustain. Very important factor for the sustainability is acquiring customers, retaining the customers, and making sense to those customers, and providing value proposition to the customers. The target must be very simple, and all stakeholders involved must benefit from the targets what you keep. Then only the business can sustain. Inspirational leadership, leading by example, and long-term goals, and clear communication and participation of all concerned will make the business success and sustainable. If you want any business to sustainably grow and successfully operate in that environment here, you need a lot of support from all angles, both internal and external.
Success alone cannot define your sustainability for long. Why? The reason behind that kind of environment we are living in is so much of vulnerable right now. The problem is unknown. It means solution is also unknown. So nothing wrong and nothing right, but the only thing is that how much you are ready to change on those changes which is emerging before us.
And in this ever-revolving world, we need to push boundaries, perspectives, explore new ideas, and innovate. Friends, Hindu Council of Kenya, today's event lies at the heart of constantly pushing these boundaries. Experiences in running business.
Thank you. Okay. I'm really, firstly thankful to my father for making me start at the bottom of the organization. It really gave me a very good understanding of the business, from the bottom up. And I think through that, I have been able to work my way up in the organization and finally becoming the group CEO in 2016. But there was a lot of challenges. What you read in textbooks, what you read in business management books, and what happens in reality is very different. In fact, I think within the first year of meeting KRA, the Kenya Revenue Authority, I realized that my management books should stay at home, right? So, but on a more serious note, I think the real challenge was how to take an already existing business, a successful business, to the next level. And as I talked about it earlier, one of the things that I really focus on my life on is relevance. How are we going to be more relevant, right? So from becoming just a washroom hygiene company, we decided to have a vision to become a hygiene provider, a hygiene leader for the kitchen, for daily lives, for other areas. And through that we said, let us now also go beyond the loo, beyond the kitchen, beyond your house. And we have now started, manufacturing other products, importing other products, working with other local companies to create a distribution platform. And what Abhishek didn't tell you is that he came to Kenya to be my partner and ever since has remained my partner. So Mac Coffee and Chandaria Industries have a very special relationship. But
I would like to know more like how you can support basically the Hindu new businesses and the new startup which are really looking forward the expertise and the working capital for growing the business.
no, thank you for that question. And I think, His Excellency, the Deputy High Commissioner made some very valid points earlier. The engine of any new economy now, the engine of the new world is going to be startups. We have seen major startups, Uber, Amazon, Airbnb, you name them. Some of these blue chip companies all started out and have a common theme of technology that drives their businesses. So when I came back in 2009 to the country, I started to notice opportunities. And I noticed other entrepreneurs doing amazing things, amazing ideas, amazing businesses. And I started angel investing in 2012. Many of you in the room will know Mobius Motors, Africa's first mass market vehicle manufacturer. That was my first personal investment, and thereafter I continued to invest. And once the family started to see the results and the success of what I was doing, we formalized Chandaria Capital in 2016. Today we are one of the leading venture capital investors in Africa. We have a fund size of over $40 million. We are invested in 40 companies around the world, and we continue to grow. I have a team size today of 5, and I can tell you the amount you can learn, the kind of exposure, the kind of things you will see with startups and these really bright young minds you will not see anywhere else. And I'm also very proud to tell you today, out of the 40 entrepreneurs we have invested in, more than 50% are actually Hindu and come from the Hindu community.
Presidency India has got for 2023 and how it can help Kenya, India, bilateral ties.
So G20, you are aware that 2023 India will be the president, and throughout the year there will be a number of meetings. There will be invitations to G20 countries, many other observer countries, and other organizations who will be the stakeholders. India has always been the voice of South, voice of the developing countries. And to prove that point, I have an example. On 12th and 13th of January, before we started the major meetings in G20, we had 10 sessions. The first session was inaugurated by Prime Minister of India, and the last session was concluded by Prime Minister of India, and all other 8 sessions were chaired by various ministers of India, and the participants were 130 countries, minister level, none of them were G20. The summit was called Voice of South Summit, and the purpose was to get their views, get their ideas, compile them, use them for the G20 agenda. So that's why it was termed as Voice of South Summit. And the aim is to bring the voice of South in the mainstream G20 agenda. So that's how India will and is aiming at helping the countries which are in developing sphere. And Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs from Kenya, Dr. Alfred N. Mutua, was participating there in the foreign minister's session. So that was the first example in the beginning of the year. Throughout the year, there will be various activities where India will be promoting the voice of Kenya and other developing countries, and that's how I suppose G20 presidency will bring India and Kenya closer, and we will be able to help each other and promote each other's interest.
Great, thank you. What is the current situation you see between the Kenya-India bilateral ties, and what are the new things from the Indian government side or Kenyan government side is happening to enhance this bilateral relationship?
Kenya has just undergone a successful democratic exercise of general election and has elected the new government. When the new government, the fifth president of Kenya, was swearing in the Kasarani Stadium, the Minister of State for External Affairs, Dr. V. Muralidharan, visited here with a message from my Prime Minister conveying the congratulation and assurance of our highest consideration for the bilateral relationship. So that was the beginning. Very recently, we have seen the visit of the third highest dignitary from the Indian side, fourth highest, that is the Speaker of Lok Sabha, who visited Kenya at the invitation of the Speaker of National Assembly of Kenya, who is the third highest here. That was the highest level political visit between the two countries after the new government has taken shape. The visit has already discussed all the areas of mutual interest, all the areas where we can cooperate, and has strengthened the ground where we can work together. So my point is here that these two high-level visits in less than 6 months shows the intention of India to work together with Kenya. And there are more to come. There will be more opportunities to work together. We have seen a very clear intent on the side of the Kenyan government, and we have seen the priorities set forward by the President of Kenya. And I would like to tell you that those are the priorities that India has always working with Kenya on. I'll give you one example, agriculture and mechanization of agriculture. India has extended $100 million of line of credit to Kenya, which is under implementation. Job creation will come from there, modernization will come from there, food security will be ensured by that. Similarly, SMEs, small and medium enterprises, which will be again the nerve center of the country's growth here, we have extended $30 million of line of credit. So, we both are young countries, we both are growing, we are democracies, and our agendas are similar. Our goals are shared, and our values are common. So therefore, there is only one possibility between India and Kenya, that is to work together for the mutual interest and mutual progress. So I see a great relationship and many more such high-level visits, as well as collaborations between the two countries coming in near future.
Thank you very much. As we are seeing this trend in Kenya, and there is a requirement of the working capitals, but businesses are really afraid of taking loans from the bank due to the high interest rate. So the question is, how are the banks helpful to the businesses to establish and grow in the current scenario?
Yeah, thanks, Ranaji. I think very relevant to the specific situations, then when businesses are into problems, the supply chain is an issue here. So is it a real problem of liquidity of government or a private sector? I believe there is no liquidity crisis in the private sector right now. I can tell you a few examples. The moment I have increased the rate of interest on FDR, 26 billion of amount flown within just 1 month of time to me. What does it indicate? It indicates there is an ample fund available in the market. The only one issue which is happening right now in the market is that exchange. The conversion of currency, local currency with the foreign currency. That's the problem because the dollars or foreign currency is not available. But my question is that, is a problem of Kenya? No. It's not a problem of Kenya. It's a generic question to all of you that if rate of interest is the same across the world, a rate of interest is 5 or 6% here on foreign currency and 5 and 6% in US, where money will flow?
Obviously, US.
Obviously to the safe zone. Money has a tendency to flow to the safe zone. It always happens. And interestingly, I think you're all aware about that federal rate, which used to be less than 1% in US, just in 2021, it reached to 4.5% there. What is that percentage increase now? From 1%, less than 1% to 4.5%, almost 400% increase. Here in Kenya, the rate of interest which used to be 9% or 10% for central bank is reached to 9.75 or 10 nearly. What is that percentage increase? Less than 10%. So it's not about that money is costly. Money is becoming costly across the world. And this is not a problem of Kenya specifically. Kenya has been very safe zone. It's a temporary problem, let me tell you. It's a very temporary problem. And I have very statistics with me. If time permits, I'll share with all of you to understand those points. And one very critical observations, if you can observe that, and you can absorb that Kenya's total import is hardly $25 billion. $25 billion is the total import. What is the total budget of Kenya? Hello? Okay, what is GDP of Kenya? It's 110 billion. And we have an import is around 25 billion. Means our dependency of this country on the import is hardly 25%, 26%. It means it has a sustainability in place in Kenya altogether. It is just a matter when the global economy is getting impacted, Kenya cannot be, away from that impact. That's my banks. As far as bank is concerned, bank has a sufficient liquidity across the banks. Some of the banks over leveraged. Because of that, probably they have not liquidity. But overall in the banking industry, if you see, there is a ample liquidity available. And I think in terms of Forex or in terms of the local currency, we are sufficiently. I can tell you from Bank of Baroda side also, we have 82% liquidity available right now. And many of the small tier 2 banks have the liquidity of around 60 to 80%. So there is no problem of availability of fund. The only one problem is that exchange, the conversion of local currency to the foreign currency. That's the only issue right now.
Tough time don't last. Tough people do. Because they see the opportunity in every crisis. So that is Mr. TRM. Round of applause for him. And the question is how to manage the challenging time in the business, and especially in the current scenario where there is a political uncertainty. There's a lot of news which is related to the finance side, which is coming around the globe.
Very interesting question. Thank you for posing it to me. I always look at challenge as an opportunity. How do you look as challenging as an opportunity is only because I always look at my competitor, how did they do at this point of time? I can do something better. Because many people might not be prepared. What is certain in this world is uncertainty. So people must be prepared to face that uncertainty when it arises, for which they have to be composed. They should have all the internal factors addressed properly to make sure that they are prepared. If I want to grow, I want to make better profits. My only challenge is the environment and the competition. The environment, when it has a challenge, I have to see how do I position myself in that environment at this point of time. Then I should be prudent enough to manage that situation better than competitors so that I benefit from that. That is the opportunity. Just given a small example which I mentioned to you when I was speaking. China has a problem today that they cannot supply raw material to African countries. India can. But we have to go to India and tap that potential available. That is what I have been doing for the last 1 year. I have shifted from $12 million imports from China to Africa. I have shifted $10 million to India. I am getting from India today. And only $2 million, which India is not prepared to do that because they have to do a lot of backward integration to come forward to manage this one. That will happen in the couple of years with President Modi's initiative, and we will be able to get the 100% supply from India going forward. I'm giving another 3 to 5 years' time, but it's an opportunity for India today. Can India be competitive? They have to become competitive because they cannot remain as a suitcase sellers today in the market here. And they got to look at the infrastructure development in India to make sure they got entire African country wide open for them. Forget about other developed countries. The developing countries depend on countries like India today. Why should you go all the way to China? And it is possible to do that here. So what is important for us as players in this market here in East Africa? We have to look at this as an opportunity and go on tap and bring in partnership, strategic partnership at this point of time to make sure that you are able to sustain. As you invest during the recession time to come back, you should also invest your time and energy to develop partnerships, and today strategic partnerships, so that when things stabilize here and you will be able to grow faster.
So my question is to Darshan, if you don't mind. I want to know a personal story, I mean your own story, as you have shared your success story. One failure story where you have failed in life, in business or whatever, and how you have overcome that and paved your way out of it. Thank you.
I think one of the things that I could have potentially tried to do better for the group was encourage a regional expansion. We were so busy with so many things in Kenya, grew our business in Tanzania, recently have now gone to Uganda and are looking at other markets. I think that was something I should have done better. So if, I would like to say was a mistake to focus geographically only in one country or two countries. And now that is something that, at board level with a vision, personally I'm driving and looking at what opportunities, there are in the countries beside us. So the real learning is not the specific point about the geographies here. The real learning is sometimes like a horse runs a race with blinkers. We are every day sometimes so busy and just running forward towards what we can see in front of us that we tend to forget sometimes what is in the periphery, around us. So that is really, I think, one mistake. And as I've matured, gotten older, I think, that wisdom hopefully now will, everybody will come to see in the years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what is the current status? And what's the impact and benefits to the businesses and to reduce the manufacturing or production cost?
We get indulged with sustainability. Because whenever we are talking about various ways and means of energy, we will say that what is important and critical is alternate energy, which actually comes with cost saving and for long lastingness. And that is where we are very proud in this particular region, in Kenya specifically. As I started also, that the current scenario in Kenya is that we are almost 35% having generation capacity which is over than the consumption. So we are almost 3 gigawatt generation capacity, precisely 2.99, which is a capacity which is available to consume, but currently we are talking about only 2.14 as a peak requirement. So it means it's a good news for the businesses, it's a very positive news that we have surplus or sufficient energy to move ahead towards manufacturing industry and other sector. Now, when we are talking about the benefits, when we are talking about why sustainability, then we see that definitely we'll have to see the aspects of where we are making money in the form of using generation with the alternative sources. In many of your businesses, if you start seeing, and I'm sure that many of you are seeing that very critically, that the contribution or maybe engagement of energy substance in the cost of product. And I'm seeing in the perspective of manufacturing industry that it goes anywhere starting from minimum 17% to 38 or 39% only energy as a contribution towards the product cost. So it means that if we have a right energy cost, number one, if we have sufficient energy which is available and regularity and consistency and quality of energy, we are good to go in our manufacturing and very lucrative environment as far as manufacturing is concerned. So we can see, and we are very blessed to being on equator. 10 years back, we're talking about anything between 1.35 to 1 gigawatt as a generation capacity. Now, within a couple of years, we are almost 3 gigawatt, and our vision as a nation, by 2030, we will be reaching to 5 gigawatt. That's a very important indicator that we are not adding generation plant with the strategy. We are ensuring that cost of energy to our user, to our industry, to our businesses would be correct. At the same time, business could grow. So I am seeing it is a positive indication that we are using alternative energies, renewable energy sources to making sure our business could go even prosperous. I'm also adding one last point to this particular parameter because these sources are not a governmental property or proprietary to the government. Renewable energy sources are giving leeway to the manufacturing sector, to the industry to use as in commercial and industrial sector. So it means that very many manufacturing units, you can see very many malls, shopping malls like Garden City Mall and others, they are having solar power plant on their rooftop. Very many industries do have their own manufacturing of energy generations at their own rooftop, is ensuring that low cost of energy could reach to our industry. And that is what we can say as a blessed from our nation, Kenya. We are also talking about geothermal, wind, and very many other sources, which is making our green energy mix to our total energy is almost more than 80%, which is, when we say global index, we are actually on the highest scale. So we don't need to do any extra efforts to make ourselves green because we are already green sec. So it means that we have to take an advantage as an Kenyans and as an industry in Kenya to use best towards renewable energy aspect, to have a right price of the energy for industry and at the same time sufficient energy from various renewable energy sources. Thank you very much.
Instead of buying that electricity from the government, if you have your own plant, if you have your own capacity to build this. So from Bank of Baroda side, I can assure you one thing, that you have financing available at the discounted pricing on this.
At no risk per se, because when we are talking about any renewable energy power plants, we are talking about 25 to 30 years or even 50 years kind of life. So it means that life is there, low price energy, and then which is making sure that your energy mix is substantially taking the product cost lower and ensuring that you will make more money, more profitability, and more growth towards your business.
Definitely, we need to look the alternative for the energies to reduce the cost of the manufacturing. Thank you. We can take one more question.
Self-sufficiency is not always a economically wise decision. And please don't take personally because there are certain section who is coming from the MBA background. But the biggest tragedy of the last century in the business world that those people coming from these degree holders, they know how to increase the profit, decrease the cost of the production, increase the product in the market, and it has contributed to a certain problem in the world. First is the job cut, second was the inflation, and third, the concentration of the supply line, just like the China has been giant just because of all these things. So now my question to particularly with Mr. Rohit Vadhwaji, that how can India and China, considering all these things in the mind, can learn from each other and since for last few years our total business has been hovering around somewhere 2.25 billion to 2.5 billion USD. So how India and China can increase this bilateral, because it's one-way business more or less. 90% people are importing in Kenya while we are receiving very small portion.
India, while proving itself a great manufacturing hub in the world, has not only focused on that sector. And therefore, you would see that in 1990s and onwards, India's growth has come from service industry, especially IT and ES. So that was somewhere the India's growth path has led us to. India also provides a good opportunity for being the medical hub for the world. During the COVID, we proved ourselves to be the pharmacy of the world. So my point is here that we have our own strength. While without going into particular path of competing or following a model which in itself has its own successes, no doubt, we have our own strength, and why don't we work on those? So that has been the policy, and you will see that while we have been promoting the manufacturing in India under Make in India program, then Vocal for Local, Atmanirbhar Bharat, but there has been enough emphasis on other sectors like service, software, BPOs, KPOs, education as such, medical, and many other. So, in startup, for example, the growth in startup and other industry. Plus, we have a strong diaspora presence across the globe. And if not first, we have always been the second highest remittance getter country. The amount of FDI coming to India is consistently increasing, not only in greenfield, brownfield, but even various other projects. So India, with its own strength and policy aspects, is growing in one side, and perhaps at this stage, following any other country's model, perhaps, would not be a wise decision. Secondly, when you say that India's and China's bilateral trade has been mostly in favor of China, because India has been importer of that. That has been the case for the world. While it's a matter of concern for everyone, but that's the reality. What is India importing? What other countries are importing from China is manufactured goods. So the dependency on the world has been on one particular sector over China. And that dependency was proven fallacious during the COVID time. The country which was supplying most of the medical and related basic equipment and supplies failed to do that. At that time, who emerged as the reliable partner for the world? That was India. That speaks of the inherent capability of India's economy and the strong macroeconomic fundamentals that India has. So I am sure the way India is growing, fast growth, we have already overtaken UK as the 5th largest economy in the world. And by 2030, we are on the path to become the 3rd largest economy in the world. And the sectors that we have identified, the policy direction we have taken, I think we have strong path to follow and bright future to have for us.
Is High Commission of India planning to do anything towards it so that the Indians feel equally safer as they feel in their own country, India?
Foreign and Diaspora Cabinet Secretary on our speaker. 5 meetings in 2 days, plus a great successful event in University of Nairobi and then a diaspora engagement. In all these engagements, and I'm proud to say that, none other than from the top of this country, the President of Kenya, he has praised you people a lot. I haven't heard such praise for anyone. Indian people living in this country have earned a goodwill. And that goodwill is respected and acknowledged by the highest authority in this country. When we speak of security, I think there can be no better security than a goodwill in the heart of the head of this country and the government. So that's your security. And this has come not only from the president, but each and every leadership independently. That is the biggest security. There is no threat. There is no lack of understanding about the contribution of Indians in Kenya to this economy, to this society, to this politics, and to the growth of this nation. So I think I'm very confident that this relationship, this presence of Indian community here is more than secure. If we are talking of certain incidents of law and order, it can always be improved. Law and order is a local situation which improves with time, with the growth of economy, with the better income source for the population. And as Kenya is growing, everything will improve. And this, again, we are confident that we both can work together on.
Confidence, commitment, plus growth for this nation. I have seen with my eyes what our local brothers and sisters can do for us. But we have to take one step out of the house and go and visit them and be part of the society and the community at large, which can bring us more closer and able to do work heart to heart. Thank you. We are all looking for social security in this country. And that is only possible if you are more social to the community at large. Let us not stay and say, no, I'm big man. No, you're not big. You're all human beings. You're working for the nation. What we need to do as a local investors, we have to be opportunist to grab the opportunity plus quick decision maker. Because sometimes we sleep on the decision for long and the opportunity comes and go. I give you my story in 1 minute. COVID came, nobody was prepared. I stopped traveling to my branches. I said, no, let me open a branch next to my house. Within 200 meters, I opened a branch and started giving me income. I given the employees to the Kenyans. The 3 Kenyans started working.
Your wisdom, I think it will be helpful to all of us. I will request Abhishek if you can get some points which you just said and then share it to us. One thing we forgot is that Darshan here, he has been helping startups. There was a program coming, Lion's Den, which nowadays you can see Shark Tank. So I hope Darshan, Lion's Den will come back to help the startups.
We are doing our best to bring it back.
Thank you. Yeah. So it
Thank
was
you.
started long time back.
Thank you very much.
Just to add about the security, I think there is no problem in security here. The only problem is us. We panic. Whenever there is election, we panic. We run away. I was born in this country. My mother was also born in this country. And this country has given us so much. The people are tolerant. You see the price is rising up like anything. Do you see anything happening here with the local people? No. Just imagine raising 10, 20 paisa in India for a train ticket, and the riots are there. So, it's you who should be, we should be alert. We are just 0.03% of the population. And this country, I think Darshan will agree because he was also born here, there is no security problem. It is also only fear which has been going on in us, and we should not have that fear.
The world has the response is also VUCA. It's a vision, it's an understanding, it's a clarity, and it's agility to perform to the change. I think this will make us more sustainable.
What is important in any situation to manage here, be prepared. As somebody pointed out from the audience to see that don't panic in any situation. It's very important for you. we're all well taken care of in terms of security because the country has to be secure and the people should be secure, then only the business will sustain. And we'll all be successful only when we have certain commitment. As rightly somebody started today, you should have the desire to move forward with the business. It's very important. You make up your mind, you make up yourself and create all the skills what you require, otherwise acquire the skill to make sure that you are able to sustain. Entrepreneurship is the only solution eventually for anybody to sustain in this world. Entrepreneurship is very important. I really appreciate on this dais today what Darshan is trying to do in terms of startup support and everything, which is a great initiative that I would like to congratulate him on this one, and people should take advantage of it.
The audience, you have been excellent, fantastic, and phenomenal, really great. Your curiosity, your attention, your involvement in the event has been encouraging for us, and thank you very much once again, Hindu Council, Chairman and the whole team for bringing this event together. My suggestion is you keep doing this, make a series of them. Thank you.
Rohit ji and all the prominent speakers and especially the audience, as he rightly said, without you this event couldn't be successful. I will just say with a small statement that success is actually parameter of your own. Success and sustainability is having a definition which you have to create for yourself, whether it is in your life or whether it is in your business. So I wish to encourage each one of you who are here, or maybe if you wish to extend this message on behalf of me and Hindu Council of Kenya, we are here to help and support wherever possible, and we will talk in our next session. Please take your own wisdom, your own understanding, and make yourself successful. Don't compare, don't look around, don't think with different parameters, because your own success is for your own self. Sustain that success, that is most important for your own life. So live your life king size and enjoy by doing what is best and what is of your liking. That is what from my side. Thank you very much. Thank you.
A lot has been talked about security, and look, as you know, was rightly said by Mukesh Bhai, I've lived my whole life in Kenya. We have businesses, you know, across Africa and beyond, and I can tell you, you know, very, very confidently that the security measures in this country will improve. We are a very integral part of this country. We are recognized for doing that. We will become more relevant. We will become more important, and we'll continue to play a big role in the economy. And that cannot be ignored. From various engagements I also have, I can tell you all this is recognized. Secondly, one more message I would like to tell you all. You know, you're all here to network. As a young person, I had a lot of support from my parents, I had a lot of support from people around me. All of you have children at home. Please, please support them to achieve their dreams, and please bring them at an early age to interact and learn from all the great minds at such events. I really want to encourage you on that. Thank you.
So our tagline is, you know, success begins with aspiration. So my message to you will be that aspire to become what you want to become. And there's no better time to become an entrepreneur than now. Plenty of capital is available, as you heard from Darshan Bhai, the Chandaria capital, which the initiative. Aspire Capital also has the initiative to support the entrepreneurs. And also we have huge mandate from the Sovereign Wealth Fund and the family offices out of GCC who are actively looking for business opportunities here in the Africa region. So I don't think there have been any better time to become an entrepreneur. There's a lot of capital which is available. And also these days, you know, if you start a new business, marketing is not as difficult because all the social, you know, those networking sites, etc., is available free of cost. Use the technology, use the social media for the growth of your business.